What if the reason that you have not been able to become who you know you are meant to be is because you are connected to so many relationships that are keeping you stuck to a version of yourself that you've actually outgrown? Because the relationships that we surround ourselves with, they affect how powerful we feel we are, how capable we feel we are. They affect what we think we can do, what we can create, who we can become. And sometimes they can keep us stuck, and sometimes they can expand us. But it's important for us to know the difference. And the other thing that I want to talk about today as well is that it's not just about the relationships, the people that you keep, the romantic relationships that you keep. It's about the relationship that you have with everything. Relationships are not just people, they're the relationships that you have with the content that you're scrolling, the information that you're taking in. All of those things affect how you see yourself and how you feel about yourself. And most importantly, the relationship that you have with yourself is the biggest indicator of if you will be able to become exactly who you are meant to be. My name is Crystal Hoban. I'm a love and relationship coach, and I help you reconnect with yourself so that you can change the way and reprogram the way that you feel and think about yourself so that you can hold standards and boundaries so that you can create and attract in secure and loving and healthy relationships where you feel seen and chosen. Let's get into it. The relationships that you surround yourself with will either expand you or they will keep you stuck. Have you ever heard the saying that you are only as good and as healthy as the healthiest person around you? Or this idea that you are the people that you hang out with, you are the people that you surround yourself with? Well, that's kind of what I'm talking about, right? We are who we surround ourselves with, who we communicate with, who we talk to. And the way that you are going to think about the world, perceive the world, recognize what you're capable of or what you can or can't do is definitely reflected in the relationships that you maintain and keep around you. And I think it's so important to recognize that there are certain friendships, certain relationships, even partners, whatever it may be, that will either keep you stuck in where you're at or will help rise you up, help push you forward. And we get to decide how often and what that looks like and who we spend our time with. Now, obviously, this isn't always the easiest when it comes to blood relationships or family relationships, right? Or people that have been around us in our life for a very long time that we feel a loyalty to or an obligation. But at the same time, we still get to decide how much we spend time with that person, how much we let those people kind of affect the way that we think about ourselves and see ourselves and move through the world. And I think that we don't talk about it enough. In this society, it's so much about like having all of these friends, being popular, networking, knowing all these people. And I think, yes, that's a great thing, knowing people, networking, right? But when it comes to the people that you are surrounding yourself with and spending the most time with, their limitations will become your limitations. So, for example, I'm thinking a lot about how before I had my spiritual awakening, I spent a lot of time with a lot of friends where they were very people pleasing, right? I was a people pleaser. So, of course, I had friends that were people pleasers. And we very much had a hard time speaking up and having a voice. When something upset us or bothered us, we didn't really say anything about it. We would just kind of like stay silent, or we would just be easygoing, or we would try to be like low maintenance, right? Or not make a fuss. And by continuing to hang out with these people, right? When I would have an issue with somebody or something would come up or I wouldn't feel good about something and I'd bring it to their attention, of course, they're going to meet me at that level of, well, Crystal, just let it go. Crystal, like, it's okay. Like, you don't have to like start a fight or anything. Just let it be what it is and move on, right? Instead of like a friend that would actually tell me to stand up for myself, to say something, to set boundaries. And what's interesting is that after my awakening, and why I do this work is that that part of me just like exploded. That part of me just like came out. And it was like I couldn't not have a voice. I couldn't not speak up for myself. I couldn't not set boundaries. Like I had hit this wall when it came to, standing up for myself. I had been walked all over so many different times and let that happen, right? Like I let that happen. And after my awakening, it was just like, no, we're done. And you know what this reminds me of a lot too is I have a really good friend now that went through something very similar to me. Her awakening was not the same, but she did go through a spiritual awakening nonetheless. And what's really interesting is she called it like a Reiki fire experience, I guess. I don't really remember exactly what she called it, but it's some type of Reiki fire kind of technique. And the idea is that you like are not able to stay quiet anymore and you start setting boundaries, standing up for yourself. The anger that you feel for taking advantage of has to be communicated. And it's so funny because I felt the same way after my awakening. And she's very much the type of person who she sets boundaries, she stands up for herself, she's very much learning how to like step into her voice and reclaim her voice. And of course we're friends now, right, where I am that guy. I do speak up. I do set boundaries, right? And by doing that, I actually attracted in this relationship where she's working on these things, but she's pretty good at them, I would say. I think we're always a work in progress, right? But my friends in the past, they wouldn't have been like that at all, right? We would have actually like not even communicated if there was a problem. If there was a problem, we would have not said anything about it and stayed silent or didn't talk to each other for a long time to let it blow over. And it's just so interesting because, I mean, this is like maybe a 5 year difference in time to think about the friends that I had when I was playing small, when I was not being authentic to myself, when I was not connected to who I was, when I was so worried about what everybody else thought and how everybody else felt, and my feelings came last. Those relationships and friendships were the exact same way. They were so consumed with what everybody else felt about a situation that it didn't matter how they felt. We put ourselves in these absolutely uncomfortable situations just to make other people happy. And most importantly, our families, right? That was like one of the big connectors for me with those relationships. And I just think it's so interesting to be able to kind of reflect and notice, right? That the relationships that you have, they really do affect your ability to show up as yourself, to connect with yourself. And one thing that I really started noticing too is that since I have finally stepped into who I am, since I have finally been comfortable being authentic and true and genuine in who I am, I joined a group called Toastmasters. And I don't know if you know Toastmasters, but it's a public speaking group that's across the United States. It may be international, I'm not really sure. But we meet on a bi-weekly basis. And what's been really interesting to me is that I finally stepped into who I was. I feel very comfortable being myself. I show up very authentically now in certain spaces, and I don't really think about it or second guess it anymore. And in this space, I have been able to create some of the greatest friendships and some of the greatest relationships with people. And as I have showed up in that space and started being in that space more, other people have also felt more comfortable being silly, being authentic, being themselves. And my point of sharing that is that when you show up authentically, may it be in a certain space, may it be in a certain group, may it be in a certain relationship, you give other people permission to also show up that way. And that is the most beautiful thing. When you show up playful, authentic, genuine, you give other people the chance to show up in their own energy of that as well. And so this is where it comes down to the people that you surround yourself with, right? If you surround yourself with people who believe that, making your own business, building your own business is hard and impossible and you have to have all this money, then you're probably going to share some of those similar beliefs, right? The people we surround ourselves with, we share similar beliefs with. And you know what's really interesting too is as I'm thinking about this and talking about this, I'm trained as a marriage and family therapist. So I see everything as systems. So everything is relationships, right? So not just the relationships that you have that are like people relationships, right? You have relationships with animals, you have relationships with your job, you have relationships with what you do, right? So your relationship to social media, your relationship to scrolling, your relationship to taking in information, right? And what's coming up for me is that, yes, the relationships you surround yourself with matter. They affect the way that you think about things. But this is not just about people that you surround yourself with. This is also about the information that you are choosing to engage with and choosing to watch and listen to on a regular basis as well, right? So if you're watching on social media a bunch of information that is fear based, right? You're probably going to feel more fearful. If you're watching a lot of information online that's inspiration based, which is kind of what I do, I watch a lot of like successful people talk about how they got there and tell their stories. I love hearing people's stories. It's like my favorite thing. It's probably why I'm a coach and a healer, because I love that. And I think it's so fascinating. But if you're watching that, then you're more likely to feel inspired, right? And so, the relationship that you have with everything matters. And everything that you do affects how you think and how you feel about yourself. Every single thing that you do and all of the people that you surround yourself with, it affects the way that you think and feel about yourself. So you get to decide how you think and feel about yourself depending on the people that you surround yourself with, depending on the information that you choose to take in, right? Depending on the environments that you choose to surround yourself with and be in. And I just think it is so important to recognize that you control all of that. You decide all of that. And I think more often than not, we don't even realize it, but we unconsciously make those decisions all the time. Most of the time, we're not even aware of it. We're not even aware that we're making the decision, but we do every single day, every single moment. We make a choice. But so many of us are so stuck in this kind of like routine and way of doing things, right? Where we're so automatic in what we choose and what we do, or we've been doing it for so long that it's become a habit, right? That we don't even realize that we're making the choice that we're making. And this is why it's so important to slow down and reconnect with yourself and sit with yourself, because everything out here, right, is a distraction from us to connect with who we are. And the more that we stay distracted by these things outside of us, keeping ourselves disconnected from ourselves, right? The more we are kind of just flying by the seat of our pants and letting things flow us with the wind, right? And pull us in whatever direction things decide to pull us in, rather than taking control of our life path, taking control of our life, taking control of our mind, taking control of who we are and who we want to be, right? We get to decide those things. But the only way for you to get control of those things is for you to learn how to stay connected to who you are. Learn how to recognize the things in there, how they're affecting you. Recognize what's good for you and what's not good for you, right? And that's exactly what I teach as a coach. Is I teach people how to reconnect with themselves so that they can understand when something is serving them and when something isn't serving them. And that doesn't mean that the thing that's not serving them needs to be completely excommunicated and exiled to an island, right? But it does mean that maybe the amount of time we're spending with that thing does need to shift. The amount of energy we're putting into that thing does need to shift, right? The amount of focus that we have on that thing needs to shift. And so, coming back to the bigger picture of what I'm talking about here is that who you surround yourself with matters. It affects who you can become and if you stay stuck in where you are. And when it comes down to it, everything is relationships. And we decide on a regular basis if we want to stay stuck where we're at and just stay content, or if we want to expand and become more. And every single day we get that choice. Every single day we can choose a different path. Every single day we can decide. And it starts with learning how to reconnect with yourself and learning what it is that you love and who you are and what you want. And the only way for you to tap into those things is not asking somebody else and not going outside of yourself, but it's learning how to reconnect with yourself so that you can find the answer, because they're always inside of you. They've always been inside of you. But the society we live in is just so loud, right? There's just so much stimulation going on that many of us never take the time to slow down and connect with ourselves, to find those answers, to figure that out. And many of us, when we do get those answers, we immediately think there's something wrong with us. We immediately think that, the reason we're anxious or the reason that we're upset or the reason that we're scared all the time is because there's something wrong with us. And what I have to say to you is, no, there's something wrong with what you're choosing to digest. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. But what you are choosing to take in, what you are choosing to surround yourself with, what you are choosing to focus on, that is more likely the issue. So if this resonated with you and you need some help with reconnecting with yourself so that you can truly start to reclaim your voice, reclaim your power, recognize when certain things are meant for you or not, this is exactly what I do as a coach. You can find out more information at crystalclearmystic.com.